Hi guys, it's me, Carrie Silver Lining Mena. And it's been a while since I've posted anything, like a month, I think. My last video, was it with Denise? I think it was, and that was about a month ago. And I tried to publish, I recorded this not too long ago, but I had to do it again because at the time, I wanted to do it before then because I was really, really sad and angry, and I wanted to just show my emotions because that's part of it. This spirituality, this evolution, this growing shit is messy and painful. But I didn't get to it until I was at a place of anger, and I was pissed off, and I wouldn't even mind publishing that one. But a couple more weeks have passed, and I've had some more understandings, and it's I've been processing a little bit more, so I'm going to try again, and I'm hoping that this one takes. These are very much like they're journals for me, and I actually got to a place in my evolution where I had to well, I'll just go ahead and just start. And I wrote a little list for myself because it has been so long I might forget some stuff. My list isn't very long. I'm sure I left some stuff off of that, but maybe it will help trigger me. So I want to start with one of the reasons that I've been missing in action, and people didn't even notice that I was off the internet. I think it's so funny when people say, I got to sign off for a while. The internet's too much for me, when in reality, nobody even notices that you're gone. It's just the truth. And I would post for a while that, I'm down because of surgeries or whatever, but mostly I was just trying to get people to stop messaging me, and it was just futile because a handful of people would see it and honor and respect that, but the next batch of people did not. So I just had to start ignoring the messages. They're just too much, and I had to self-preserve. So still have a message box full of messages, and it's just going to stay there probably indefinitely. So I did disappear for a while because I was going through some big shit, big transmuting, and I'm going to tell a little story about that because I didn't realize that it was happening. But let me back up and go all the way to January when I had Michelle on the show with Voltaire. And he was speaking to me about all kinds of things. I was trying to understand how things can be true on this day, but not on this day. And he kind of told me about how you bounce around on timelines and stuff like that. I didn't get it all the way, and I still don't entirely, but I understand it enough to know that our guides, our higher selves, use this in order to help us evolve. So, what happened on this? I guess I want to give you a little recap. You guys know I'm on this twin flame shit. I've got three. I've got the two I'm chasing and the one that's chasing me. And when I spoke to Voltaire and Michelle, I was afraid to ask Voltaire because I had finally rid myself of the attachment to Twin Two, the one I call Fairy Boy. I really have to have a better nickname for him. I have a nickname for Michael too, but it's so cute that I'm a little shy to share it. And I don't know if he'd want me to either. But but um but they just want to stay anonymous, and I can't blame them for that. Although today's story, I'm going to kind of give a detail about Fairy Boy that some people may figure out who he is. I doubt it. I don't think anybody that is mutual friends with us, that we're mutual friends with, I don't think they really follow my story. But if they do, then they may have guessed it already, and if not, then today's clue will be like the final validation for them. It doesn't really matter to me, but I know he's a private person, and um, I feel a little uncomfortable with sharing his story too because it's his. But I also feel like these people contracted with me on the flip side to have these experiences with me, knowing that I was going to share these stories publicly. So I'm gonna sort of throw out an apology, but I'm gonna say my story anyway, and just whatever consequences happen, I'm just gonna have to live with them. I don't mean to be hurtful. I don't mean to share other people's personal stuff, but it's my personal stuff too, and I do want to share it, and they're part of it. So I'm going to be as anonymous as possible. So let me go back to Michelle, and I had finished that. I believed I finished my twin work back in December, and I had to, rip out that attachment I had to Fairy Boy. And it was very familiar because I did the same thing with Michael. It hurts so bad, that detachment. And so I thought I was free and clear. of that. And but I didn't stop loving him. I just detached. That detachment was gone, so I thought. I did, however, move through something because it was very painful and you cannot go backwards. Hang on, look, my boobs are kind of poking out. Pull that up a little. Instead of moving my chair around, I have to fix my boobs real quick. Oh, okay. Okay, um, so I didn't want to recreate an expectation. I didn't want to latch back onto waiting for him because I had given him up. I ripped him out. But then when I did that video, Voltaire volunteered. He said something to the effect of that love you so desire is yours, that there are certain probabilities that you come into this world to have, and nothing's written in stone, but your time with him is more probable than not probable. So he made me so happy because he is my most trusted friend in spirit. And all along, from years ago, he drops little nuggets that M6 don't really want me to know, but he's given them to me anyway. And I really appreciated that. And in retrospect, I wondered if he built up that trust on purpose for this moment that I'm about to describe. So even though I was reluctant to ask about the twin when I might connect with him, Voltaire threw that in anyway. He went ahead and threw it and say it's going to happen, but you got to wait for him because he has his own free will, and he has his own journey, and he's going to be ready when he's ready. And again, since I'm at the point of retrospection, I can tell you that at some point I went back and realized that Eric did the same thing to me over and over again. And if you remember, I mentioned that he gave me a time in which I would connect. He circled it on the e-board, and to me that's like the least amount of filter possible. Spirit has its own filter, but mediums, unless you're forcing that planchette, you can't, or human people, you can't. There's no filter in that answer because you're directly channeling it from spirit, or not. The planchette is, and on the e-board, the planchette Eric volunteered that I would be seeing him in September of 19. Well, that changed to September of 20. Then, because of the coronavirus, it changed to 2021. And then another day, I caught a live feed with Jason and his friend Cody, and somebody else wanted to ask if they're going to go to a certain place. And this is where I'm going to kind of give up my clue about this guy. So I got a giggle, and I posted a comment, and I said, "Yeah, I want to know when I'm going to that same place too." And then as Cody and Jason are kind of figuring it out, I'm typing away saying, don't tell me, I don't want to know. Even if they tell me, I'm not going to believe them because I have been cured of that. So, so I just am trying to make the point and let it hit home that I had given up when I'm going to see him. But the guides kept throwing it back and kept creating an expectation. Well, I had a reading not too long ago with Heather, and Eric many times kept saying to me, I'm sorry that he apologized to me. He said, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to help you get to where you want to be. And he basically was apologizing for betraying me. And the way in which he betrayed me was by constantly giving me these dates over and over again. And I began very much to distrust the when of it, but because it kept changing, I still believed there at least was a moment in which this was going to happen. So, so after having this reading with Heather and Eric apologizing to me for betraying me on purpose, I can't really blame him because it's me, my higher self, fairy girl. I get that we're the same person, but I get that my ego can't remember and is not always aware of the things that we want for me. So, so after this reading, and I was really letting it sink in, I got really, really bummed out because not only did Eric, who I know is my guide and who has fucked with me before and who has been fucking with me for years with this date, what really hurt me was when I realized what Voltaire had done. I had taken this little tidbit of the love you so desire will be yours as a gift. And in a way it was, but not the gift I was believing it was. I thought he was giving me a little present saying you get to have this guy, but he was giving me an expectation in order for me to ditch the expectations once and for all. Because what Eric also said in this same video was that he says he was reluctant to share this information with me. And I thought the reason he was reluctant to share it with me was because I know how I am and I will take some information and I will run with it. And I thought he was worried about that, and maybe he was. But what happened, what he said to me was, because I have come to a place of accepting my path, which is to have many relationships with many men and through love and sex with, well, maybe women too, but I'm just going with men for now. We'll say people. Relationships with people through love and sex, I will put myself back together. I will heal in that way. And I just kind of, well, I had in my mind that it was like, I saw like magical stuff happen. Like, we'd meet and merge, and the energy that was created through these sex acts or whatever would somehow go back to Minerva and eventually God's source, and that's how it would heal. And that probably is true in some way, but that's not what it was. That's that's not how I was going to heal through love and sex. It was actually through my human experiences, not the magic of the energy on the other side. And not only that, if you remember, I started fantasizing. I became very comfortable, and I began to embrace that I was going to spend out my days alone. I liked that a lot. But I'm so committed and connected to my family that I had fantasized about, and this wasn't like a real fantasy. I don't expect my husband and I to live in duplexes next door to each other. We've already got two houses. We're not going to sell them and get a duplex next to each other. But it was just for, just to explain how I wish, if that were my path, that I could still be close to him, but have my separation. And it's not so much to be close to him, although in a way, but to keep us together as a family unit, because the kids will come home and we'll have these celebrations. And so that was my motivation. And if you're living by yourself and you don't have a significant other, then that's a reasonable fantasy to have, to keep the family intact as much as possible that you already have. Because he's not a bad man, we just don't get along. So once I became comfortable in this place and accepted that I'll be alone, my energy went and shifted. And I have now created for myself another path in which I will find the love of my life. And you would think I would be overjoyed by this, but it pissed me off. It pissed me off. And at first I thought Eric might think I was going to run off and try to find the man of my dreams, blah, 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 blah. And, I get crazy with stuff. I really do. But the reason he told me this was to help me further let go of any expectations. So when he told me that my path might not, in the way he described it, was something that I'd always wondered about too. You guys have been watching me. I'm a very emotional girl with a huge heart. And how was I supposed to be involved with men and have like these week-long Jack and Rose romance weeks with them and not get my heart tethered to them? How was I going to, detach from that over and over again? It didn't really make sense to me, but I just trusted Fairy Girl. And the more I thought about it, the more fun it got. Because doesn't that sound fun to fly around the world and have love and romance on all these adventures? And doesn't that sound fun? So I was pissed that not only one, that I was comfortable for the longest time with believing that I was only deserving of week-long romances, but I was also pissed off because now that I had grown accustomed to the idea, it was a possibility that I wasn't going to have it anymore. And even though the alternative was to find the love of my life, I was pissed at having my expectation ripped out from under me again. And that was the whole point. So I have come to a place in my evolution where it's not that I don't believe anything. I keep saying that, in my brain. I'm like, I don't believe anything you say anymore. I don't believe anything you've ever said. It's that now, whatever belief and whatever knowing I hold, it is immediately followed by, yeah, but nothing's guaranteed, and energies can shift and things can change. So let me use like Michael for an example. I really don't know what the context of our future will be, other than I truly believe that there is a future for us. And I think it will be more along the lines of my relationship with Heather, although a different dynamic because they're different people. But I think it will be a deep friendship, and it will be all encompassing. And, I had this for a while. I had this sexual attraction to Heather, and that's completely gone now. She's so much more of a sister to me, and sometimes she's a little sister to me, and sometimes she's an equal sister to me. But it morphed from that. I have no interest in, doing sexy stuff with her. I still, however, have an interest in that with Michael. That may or may not change. I'm comfortable with whatever place that goes to. But so I do have a knowing that there will be something, even if it's just a friendship. But I still can't help but have the next thought follow that with, but things can change, energies can shift. And let me go back to December when I ripped that twin right out of me. um, oh, where was I going? You know how I lose my thought. Hang on, hang on. Things will change, energy will shift. Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember, but it'll come to me. So I'm in this place right now where I still feel like things will still happen with Fairy Boy, but I believe very much that there will be a romantic relationship. However, I'm not allowed to think anymore that it's a done deal. It doesn't matter how much I know it right now. I can believe it with all of my heart. I cannot on know that it's possible for it to change. I know what I was just going to get to back then. Oh, I hope I don't lose it again. God damn it, I lost it again. Energies. Oh fuck, I lost it again. Sorry. So so I had to spend some time being really brokenhearted about this shift in energy and what it did for me rather than get me excited about this new potential love path. I just said, fuck it. I'm not interested and I reject love altogether, which I know is one of the points too, because when you quit looking for love, that's when it comes knocking on your door. So come knock already, except not really because I'm still in the place of rejecting it. I go back and forth. God, I wish I could remember that one thought. It'll come to me. It always does. Is it over here? I don't know. All right, so let's just stop right there for a minute. Oh no, I'm gonna go ahead and go with more of the Denise stuff because I realized that, she told me, one of the things she told me was um, that I don't allow people to do things for me. And she said, I'm not talking like, your kids asking your kids to bring you a glass of water when, they get up to go to the kitchen. That's not what I mean. And Spirit wouldn't tell me what they meant, so she couldn't really translate it beyond that. Well, and she spoke a lot about my independence. So what she meant, I believe, by not allowing people to help me, I was really racking my brain trying to figure that out. One of them was me feeling not worthy enough to make the choices on our guests on Stardust. I came in with a filter of letting everybody else do that work for me. And at one point, it became, I've had other shows before, and I didn't really get much say so in who the guests were, no matter how many times. And I was cool with that for the most part. But I would try to assert myself, and it just never came to fruition. I got tired of being unheard. And then I could see this happening again with Stardust, but it wasn't Heather, like taking control. It was me taking the back seat. And I'm like, you know what? You don't have to be that way anymore, because I have people I want to talk to. I have entities that I want to interview, but it was always about the things that she chose. So I asserted myself. I believed that one of the things that this me feeling like I can't ask other people for things, this was one of the things I thought it was. So I said to Heather, you know what? I feel like I'm not getting enough of my choices. And she goes, well, I don't want you to feel that way. That's not how it is. I never intended for that to be. So by all means, let's balance this out, because I don't want that for you. So that to me was one of the ways in which I allowed somebody to meet me halfway and meet my needs and give me back. Another thing that I thought about was I'm so shy and intimidated to ask mediums to come be on my show. I don't get very many views, and I'm not paying anybody. I have nothing to offer back, so I think. So I had to like kind of convince myself, talk to myself, some self-talk. It's like, you got plenty to offer. Number one, sometimes it's fun to do these shows, and that's entertainment in itself, or reason to do it in itself. Another reason is because whoever comes on my show gets to self promote. People that may not have seen them in other contexts may see them for the first time through my show. It may provide business. They may indirectly make money off of this show. So there's that. And another thing is, it just feels good to help people. It feels good to help your friends. So I had to convince myself that there are all these ways that it was okay to ask people to help me. But then it hit me. I think that the biggest thing was that I wasn't, I didn't have, I didn't allow for people to love me. And I know I have lots of love. I know I do. I know if you're watching this, you probably love me already. But I think I'm speaking in romantic love because when it comes to the twins, I talked about my love dials. My love dial, my green chakra was on full blast. I would compensate for the lack of love being received by giving so much love. I loved these men so unconditionally. They can do whatever they wanted. They can get new girlfriends. They could ignore me. They could break my heart over and over, but I had so much unconditional love for them. My heart chakra was so full that I had enough love for the both of us. But that becomes unsatisfying. I'm so out of balance. My out of balance in my heart chakra is a beautiful thing in a way because it means I have so much love to give somebody else. But I can't allow anybody else in until I turn that dial into the middle, have more balance, and then there's room for love to come find me. So that was one of the things, I think that was the most significant thing that the guys were trying to get me to realize when they said I don't allow people to do things for me. I didn't have any room in my heart because it was too full for love for them to allow love for me to come in. So let me switch gears to the next thing Denise spoke about, and that was independence. And I believed I had, so one of them was being independence of the fear of asking people to help me, fear of allowing myself to receive from others. So I'm still working on that, but I see it. One of the ways in which I wanted to break that is, again, I said I was shy to have new mediums come on. Well, oh wait, let me go back to the expectations kinds of things, because one of the things that the guides were trying to rid me of were all expectations. They wanted to do two things with all these betrayals. So Eric's constant giving me of different details, and Voltaire's giving me these little nuggets, these little gift nuggets. What they were meant to do were two things. One of them was to quit me of expectations. Stop, stop, stop. Eric says I only really need to plan for 3 and 4 months ahead. But, I'm getting dates when I'm going to go meet this guy in the year 2022. That is not 3 months ahead. Things change all the time. So you can't have those expectations that far out. So, I keep losing that thing about the expectations. There's something significant there. Oh, I know, I got it. Okay, so when I claimed to have let go of my twin, when I ripped him out, oh God, I keep losing that one. Oh, I know. When Volti recreated that expectation of seeing him, my life felt very much like it did before I ripped him out in December. I was like, how is this any different? Because in a twin dynamic, the mythology says that the chaser twin's going to get to a place where they no longer chase and they're going to move on, and that's when energies shift, and then the other twin does their inner work with back and forth, a push pull. And a lot of that stuff is bullshit, but there's plenty of commonalities, and that one kind of makes sense. So I hadn't pulled away from him. I was still waiting for him, but I knew I went through something. I knew I did. I couldn't tell the difference. But now with this next one of letting go of the expectations, I absolutely can tell the difference. And the difference is, even when I know something is going to happen, I also have to know that it's not going to happen. And I swing in these pendulums of being, yes, it absolutely is. I know it. It can't be any other way. It doesn't make sense. And then I swing way over here and I say, no, 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 it doesn't have to be that way because there's no rules. Nothing's guaranteed. And I go back and forth and back and forth in these big arguments in my brain. And at the end of it, I get to, it's either yes or it's no. And that's what I want to get to. I want to just believe that it'll either happen or not happen without having all of this, which way is it going to land? I just want to just say yes or no. So it's okay that I have this knowing. I just can't cling to it. I have to allow for things to change. Otherwise, I will be disappointed. And I've had so much disappointment in my life because of these expectations. And the other thing that the guides had intended for me to learn through this act of betrayal was to quit being dependent on external information. It's meant to propel me away from mediums so that I will start to learn to channel for myself. And it really has happened, or I'm just recognizing it for what it is, my epiphanies, my aha moments. And remember, if you watch Stardust, I hope that whoever's watching this also watches Stardust. I get so many more views over there, so chances are you guys have. But when we spoke to Heather's other incarnation, Magenta, um, oh fuck, I forgot where I was going with that, but it'll come to me too. Oh, okay, Magenta, help me remember what that was. Okay, so let me continue on because I started to say, I know I do this. Thanks for following along. I wanted to start being brave enough to ask new mediums to come on my show. So even though I have been cured of relying on the information from external sources, at that same time I had booked a reading with somebody I caught a live feed from, and her name is Lisa Tabert Fry. I think I'm saying this right. And the message that she gave me, it was just a quickie. You know, I asked about the yellow chakra and I asked about independence. I can't even remember what I said, but the thing she said was she was right on it. The same things that I spoke about with Denise about rewiring and reprogramming your brain. And that was the message she gave me. And I'm like, this girl knows what she's talking about. She's connected because I am the most doubtful person ever. One of my nicknames that, what's her name? Deb Brown gave me is Mrs. Doubt Fairy because I doubt everything. My husband thinks I'm naive and I believe everything, but the reality is that I don't want. I'm like you. You're full of shit. You're full of shit. You're full of shit. I would just really take everything with grains of salt. But this woman, Lisa, she really nailed this one, and that doesn't mean I have to believe everything she says, but that just means I know she's got something there. Everything is, you have to have discernment, and apply logic. Apply, don't go nuts with information. I'm very guilty of that sometimes myself. So she had a special and it was so reasonable. I can't believe that she charges that low. Maybe, her rates will go up. So go book a reading with her if you want to. And she's the kind of, I didn't have any questions because I already knew the guides aren't going to give me the information that I want to hear. I came in there with no questions and I was like, I'm just going to let her say what she says. And Heather had a reading with her too. And she says, you don't need questions because she is the kind of girl that will ramble on with messages from spirit. And I was like, perfect. So I had my reading and I just did the short one. I did the 30-minute one. And she shared many things. One of the things that she said that she goes, I don't know if this is your spirit animal so much, but they're showing me a flamingo and what they're trying to tell you. And it was funny because Sarah said, that's because you only wear one sock. That's funny. But I'm standing there in my pond with my one foot. And as I walk through the water, I go very slowly and my ripple effects are very subtle, but they go far and they hit other people. And so that was kind of cute. But she shared a story with me, and she goes, "Do you know what? She says this is from the Akashic records, and I don't know how people tap into that, but here is the story." She said that in a past life, I was an Aboriginal boy. Aborigines, I don't know which way to say it, but anyway, I was one of those boys. And my village was being persecuted by the bad guys, by the white man. I don't know if it was the British at the time. I don't know Australia's history, but this woman went in, Lisa went into describing that he had blue eyes and she was describing the landscape and she's like, it's definitely Aboriginal. And so what happened with my village that was being prosecuted, we all like ran away, and I don't know all the details, but we ran away on top of one of those big, huge plateaus, the mountains with their heads cut off. And I guess we ran up there because we thought it was a good hiding place because it was so high, but they found us. And what happened to us was that they literally just, maybe they were there with spears, I don't know. They'd literally push us over to at the edge of the cliff and we'd have to fall. And when we would fall, we would become damaged, broken, bruised, bloodied, injured, and we would just be left there to die of exposure, starvation, dehydration, whatever it was, with all our broken, bloodied body parts. That didn't look so appealing to me. I watched my family go over the edge. So what I decided to do, I was like, I don't know how old I was. I feel like I was a 12-year-old boy, 10-year-old, 8-year-olds, it doesn't matter. I ran as fast as I could. I said, I'm not going out like that. I ran as fast as I could and I jumped as far as I could. And when I hit the ground, I died instantly. So I had escaped the oppression of the bullies. I had escaped the pain that came with being pushed, forced off that edge at somebody else's hand. And what I interpreted this as was my marriage. I was like, okay. And I kind of always felt like that because my husband is, I've mentioned before, he's very dedicated, and his strength, we have two different strengths. His strength is to keep it together no matter what. And my strength is to leave it when it's no good anymore. There's value in both of those things. Because if he didn't have that strong sense of keeping the family together, he probably would have gotten rid of me a long time ago. Because I went through some crazy shit. I was a crazy girl. But it also takes a lot of strength to grow your balls and start a new life. So anyway, I was interpreting this message as me deciding that I need to break free. I need to become independent of just waiting for things to happen. And right as this epiphany is going on is when the transmuting started, and I fell into such a deep, dark place, and I was crying and crying. It's miserable. And because this is a real life situation, it wasn't through like my fantasy relationship through Michael, it's my marriage, and that's real. I clung to that belief that this is what I was transmuting, and I'm telling my husband, I gotta leave you, and I'm so sad, I gotta jump off the cliff. And he's, all right. It irritates him, but I was so dramatic about it. And then my daughter pissed me off. My sweet Layla irritated me. And what she did was so this big. We were kind of trying to go back and forth and trying to figure out and decipher what each other was saying. I'm like, do you mean this? She'd go, no. And she got, no. We couldn't figure it out. She goes, ugh, this sucks. That broke my heart and made me cry all day and all night. My daughter said, this sucks. And I couldn't handle it. What the fuck? And so I had to think, why did that bother me so bad? And before I got to why, I was thinking, oh, my relationship with my kid has changed. And I just got done not too long ago to bragging about how much I love her and what great friends we're becoming. So here I'm thinking that everything's at the end. My great relationship with Layla is over. And then it hit me. I haven't felt that kind of doom and gloom in a long time. And what that is, it's the transmuting. And when you go in these dark places and you're shedding this energy, this false belief, you can apply it to real world situations going on right now in your life and create an actual problem. I used to do that all the time with Michael. I would create a problem that wasn't even there because I couldn't recognize what I was actually transmuting. So what I was transmuting at this time were the false beliefs, the expectations, all this stuff, all the stuff that I learned through Eric in this reading with Heather. So I started to feel a little bit better. And I was doing the homeschooling stuff with my kids and trip out on this. And we were talking about like South Africa and apartheid and all this stuff. Well, the next chapter, this particular week, as I'm going through all this stuff right after this reading with Lisa, this thing we're studying this week was the oppression of the Aboriginal people. The Aborigines people are being oppressed. And I thought, how funny. How funny. You guys are so funny to give me this little stinky wink. But I started to think about that over and over again. And it made me realize that, okay, and this is where I'm going to kind of, let a little secret out, which I don't think anybody will care except for him. So in case he ever watches this, I want him to know why I felt, well, I'm not exactly comfortable, but why I chose to decide to go ahead and disclose this part. But I was meant to connect this Aboriginal boy, this place that he was in with Australia, because that's the place that I believe I'm going to go see him at. That's where he's going to be at one day. He's not there now, but unless his plans shift and change, that's where he's going to go. So once I put together that they really want me to make this Australia connection, it's maybe there's another life in which I chose to jump off some other cliff. But it wasn't the bullies oppressing me. It wasn't my husband and our fighting making me want to jump off. It was going to be the guides breaking my heart. And this happened with Michael. So what I realized that these guides were actually trying to tell me, and I can't look at, I'm already getting emotional because the amount of gratitude and relief I feel from having this clue and having figured it out is like huge. They weren't telling me about my marriage. We're in the middle of a fucking pandemic. Where am I gonna go? I have no job, no money, and no plans. So it wasn't him. It wasn't him. But I'm glad I thought it was him at first because this allowed me to make the decision on my own, which I did actually. I had decided to go ahead and oh, I don't remember how I got to this conclusion, but I got to this conclusion before I put the Australia connection together. But I'm meant to disconnect from Fairy Boy, from the twin, because things have just been stagnant. Like I said, I've just been waiting for him. I've been waiting for him, and his energy isn't going to shift until my energy shifts. So whether or not there is a future for us, it's not going to happen until I move on. And I did the same thing with Michael. I became stuck and I just kept waiting for him and waiting for him. And I believed that that's why Fairy Boy showed up, because I quit learning from Michael. I don't think that's necessarily true. And I have to be careful with Michael, what I'm going to say right now. I don't want to expose him and his personal life, but something happened in his life, and the belief was that it was meant to propel him forward. But as far as I can tell, he's pretty much in the same place. It did, however, propel me forward. And whatever happened with him back then and in me, it caused me to get so mad and so angry with him that I said, fuck this, I'm done with you. And I reached that decision to unfriend him. And I know it's just, when we're older people. Those of you that are like in my place, Facebook doesn't necessarily feel real. And I know you must have friends that are like, it's just Facebook. They're just internet friends. You don't even know them. The young people get, this is all like regular to them, but the older people don't always give these internet relationships, connections, whatever, enough credit, because they're not like tangible and touchable. Justin Schmoyer once said to me a long, long, long time ago, he's like, don't discount the power of Facebook. And there's many reasons for that, and this is one of them. So to me, I feel like when you unfriend somebody on Facebook, that's almost like the equivalent of, if it's like a romance, like giving back your apartment key and walking out the door forever. So that's what I did. I decided to, rather than be forced by the guides, by the bullies, to make me fall off that cliff, I decided to go ahead and avoid that very, very painful, devastating experience and unfriend him. And I couldn't believe how easy it was to just click unfriend, and I was done with it. That's all it took, was that simple unfriend. I could have avoided so much hurt the first round, because that devastated me. I had to hate him. I had to come to a place of hating him in order to free myself. And I actually, not too long after that, I realized that everything that Michael ever did to me, all of the fuckery and all of the assholery that went on between us, was for me. I mean, we all know that on some level, but I could really put it into perspective. And a long time ago, Fairy Girl told me that I won't be able to forgive Michael until I forgive myself. And then it made sense, because when I did this same exact experience with the second one, they don't know each other. They could not have conspired to create the same experience twice. So it really hit home. So one of the ways, I had to apologize to him for being such a pest, for never leaving him alone, for just bombarding him with me for years. He was so patient. He didn't always respond. In fact, he hardly ever did. But he never turned me away, and he let me cry on him as long as I needed to. I'm so grateful for that, but I had to take that next step and hate him, apparently. I didn't need to go that route this time, because one of the things I have learned is my self-power. I have power, and I didn't need to be pushed off the edge. I chose to create my own reality and my own path, and I jumped off that fucking cliff before he or the guides disguised as him had a chance to break my heart. And you know what that started to get me thinking about was, would Michael have still had that experience he had if I didn't need to move on? Did I allow for Fairy Boy to escape an experience. And I say escape because I'm sure that there were nice things about the experience, but I know that there were also hurtful things with the experience. So, did I like, I don't know if I helped him avoid creating an avoidance of that experience for him or for Fairy Boy, or if I just created a means for me to not find out about it. Does that make sense? I'm curious. I'd really like to um, share this with Michael, and I might. One day, of course, I will. Although there's always a chance that energies will shift and things will change. But for now, I believe I will get an opportunity to share this with him. So, oh God, I forgot. I forgot to tell you. I have to fucking back up. I wish I'm not going to do this video over. So let me back up. Things are always retrospective anyway, so you can have a little bit of retrospection with me. But another thing that Lisa had said, and I wasn't even connecting these two. She said that there's something else in about 3 months that's going to happen, and it's going to piss you the fuck off. And it has something to do with something you believed you had cleared but hadn't. And the biggest, and I was like, what is it? What is that going to be? And I knew it wasn't the issues I'm having with Twin 3. I'm still going through those. That's next video, because that shit's pretty radical. That has to do with expectations. That has to do with all kinds of stuff that's similar to this one, but a completely different story. But I was thinking, okay, it can't be my issues with that relationship. It can't be my husband because I'm still in the middle of that. It can't, and I didn't even think about Fairy Boy. I thought maybe it was the mama issues because some of, that pops up here and there, and I'm truly just an observer of that. But I was like, ooh, can that surrogate mama get to me? I was like, oh, I didn't know what it was. I was completely clueless. So that's when the Aborigines stuff came up in the school assignments. That's when I was like, oh my God, that's what's gonna piss me off. It's none of these things. It's Fairy Boy. I haven't cleared that all away. He still has some residual power over me. So I wrote him this long, long letter explaining what's going on right now, all this, whatever, why I have to unfriend him. I didn't want him to get a wrong impression because there is no bad blood between them. Because I had done this relationship with Michael, I didn't go to the extent of the crazy with him. So he might not have known, and I wanted to explain to him. I also took some time to explain to him how I believe that the roles may soon reverse, and I wanted to give him some advice. I'll talk about that next time. But I can't believe I almost forgot to tell you about that message that I still haven't cleared some stuff. So I guess that's what that means, and I don't know if unfriending him means I've cleared it or not. We'll find out in 3 months if I get super duper pissed off about something. But I do know that I did jump off that cliff, and I made that decision on my own. And again, I did get clues from the guides, but ultimately I had to get to that place. So I finished my transmuting. I know for a fact that I will never have these expectations because as much as I'd like to cling to something or believe something wholeheartedly, I can't. Even when it comes to I hate to even say this because I don't want to attract it, but just say one of my kids got like a terminal illness or something. Um, no, let's just say that I believe wholeheartedly that my children will not. I just don't believe that's in my path. I have other stuff in which I learn my independence, my self-love through my surrendering of control of external sources over me. And that would definitely be one. You absolutely have no control over your child's illness. You just don't. I mean, you can take it to the doctors, but you can't control it. So I have this knowing that that's never going to happen. And I truly, 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 truly believe that. But I've come to a place where there's always room for change. There's always can be a possibility of a shift in energy. So I have been definitely cured of that. Let me see. God, my notes are pathetic. They don't make any sense. They're just little scribbles. All right. Well, I am going to, I did want to share something that has nothing to do with this necessarily. And maybe in a way it does. I don't know, but I want to share this because I just do because it was so special to me. But when we had magenta on, and I know that the timing of this was just right, but I've been asking for dreams for so long. I used to dream about Michael all the time. Oh, look, Omega's messed up. Sorry about that. And I quit. I just don't dream. Every once in a while I do. Still, I had a dream just before I had to unfriend him. I had a dream that we were in a train station and he was saying goodbye to me and he got on a train and disappeared. I had another dream where we were all at a party with all my spiritual friends and he said goodbye to everybody, but then he disappeared from me and didn't say goodbye. And then I had another dream about him where he was just lying on a cot in feels like a train station. I don't know what it is with him and trains, but I've always had like train dreams with him, riding on trains with him. Um, but it had been so long, so I was like begging, give me a dream, give me a dream. And I said, I just want a love dream. I didn't care who it was with or anything. So I had this dream that was realer than real. And all it was me hugging Michael, just hugging him. And he's so tall. We really are like Princess Leia and Chewbacca. It's just so unmatched. So I'm almost like my chin's at his navel. I think I can't even remember, but I'm really little. That can't be right. I don't know, but I'm so little. He's so tall. It's almost like an alien. Kind of like that part. But in my dream I didn't know. I couldn't see who it was because I had my face like buried in his well, okay, his chest, not his navel. I had one arm around him here and the other arm was like wrapped up. I guess I'm not too short because I could pet his hair and I've touched it before. It's super soft like a kitten. And I smelled his laundry. He knows I love fabric softener too. He'll get such a kick out of this if he hears it. But I was like breathing in his fabric softener and my eyes were closed and I just had this perpetual smile, holding him, petting him, breathing him in. And my feelings were nothing but pure love, just pure love and contentment. So real. I never have dreams where I can feel softness. I never have dreams where I can smell. And then that was the end of it. It was just a hug. But you know what's so sweet about that? I'm so touched by this because I told you I just got done saying it and didn't ever say anything to me in our correspondence. And there are close to 50,000 messages going back and forth between us. I'd say about 40,000, 40 fucking thousand of them were mine. And his biggest contribution back was the simple message of asterisk, hug, asterisk. So the things that he gave me the most in those, you know, messages back and forth were hugs. So isn't it so sweet that I dreamed about hugging him? I love that. It helped me understand that how real it was and I've been able to bring that connection down. I'm trying to, integrate me and Fairy Girl. So I've been integrating him with his higher self who chooses to call himself Mergerlo. I'm going to ask Heather one time and him. I got to ask him too if I have permission to post the video in which she trans-channeled his higher self because my reaction was just unreal. My jaw dropped and I'm just drooling. I can't even talk. So I'd like to share that one time because it's a really great visual of what it looks like when I say my heart chakra blew open, turned me into a drooling statue. Okay, I wanted to share that sweetness about him. I hope I get more love dreams. That was amazing. Oh, but you know what that dream did to me? It just wrapped my heart right back around him. And for 2 weeks, I was completely in love and gaga for him again. That's chilled out a little bit. And I'm back to that place of just wanting to have, friend love or whatever, come what may. But but I see how powerful dreams can be, and I'm wondering if maybe that's why I don't have them because they affect me too much in my waking life. It's an interesting theory. Um, all right, I think I'm going to wrap this up. Do I have anything else that I wanted to share? I'm sure I do, but I'm going on almost 50 minutes now. So, thank you again for, the same thing I always say, for allowing me to learn and grow and do my video journaling through you. I recently shared the same story I shared with Fairy Boy with a friend who I believe is another fractal of one of M6. I'm falling in love with this girl a little bit, and I shared the written version of this story and the one that I'm going to share next with her. And she said, that hit home with me too. It resonated with me. So it just those little, even, you guys say it all the time, you constantly give me that reassurance. And I've come to a place where I believe you now, but it doesn't mean I don't still like hearing that my words are affecting people. So thank you for sharing right back. And I apologize for being shitty about not commenting back, but this is my way right here, this dialogue here of letting you know I'm hearing you, I'm reading, I'm 317 ding, and I'm appreciating whatever this is, whatever silver linings is, how it benefits me and it benefits others too. The symbiosis of it is very satisfying to me. All right, you guys, stay tuned because next episode is one that I'm so uncomfortable. I'm so uncomfortable with sharing this. It's going to be one of my biggest challenges to share this next one. So I'm not sure when it will come out yet. I'm not sure how many takes I'll have to do, but I feel like I can't avoid it. It's such a significant part of my journey that I can't leave it out. All right, you guys, thanks again. See you next time. Bye.